The wrecking ball ending an era of what was once the largest enclosed mall in the world. The Penny's building at Richmond Town Square, no more. The mall once home to other iconic stores like Sears and Woolworths. Now from the rubble, a new beginning, the Bell Oaks Marketplace. The reimagining of the 70-acre property includes a Myers that's set to open in May of 2025. Then, a few months later, the first residential buildings will be ready to move into. The entire project tentatively scheduled for completion by May of 2027. As the popularity of old-style malls and stores like Penny's and Sears declined, Richmond Mall eventually became Richmond Town Center and then became almost vacant, creating a void.
Even though most of the property sits in Richmond Heights, the property tax revenue goes to a different school district.
Sauthie-Lyndhurst got most of the school tax revenue in the past, although the configuration of the new development will bring a more equitable split to Richmond Heights. When the dust clears, the revitalized property and income tax from the retail will take the yesterday of Richmond Heights and create a brighter tomorrow. Vic Gideon, 19 News.